track motion let us track any type of motion or movement within a footage and then use that tracking data to apply mainly to another object to follow that same type of movement within a scene. Once we apply the track motion tool, this little track point will appear containing two boxing outline squares with a little plus inside it. The area in the outer box is called the search region and is where the searching happens for locating the track feature as points or patterns. And you want to make sure that it's big or large enough for containing the whole feature of the object for the motion tracking, but still keep it concise or small enough to not take too much renderer time and keep it as effective or efficient as possible when doing the tracking motion. We want to press, hold and drag in one of the corners to adjust its size, and to scale it in proportional or proportionately, just hold shift at the same time while you're doing the scaling. You can move just the box but anchor to the smaller box while using the lines, while moving the whole track point pressing inside this search region. The area within the inner box is called feature region and should be placed over the element or object to be tracked, which is something that needs to be consistent over the whole duration of the footage or the whole tracking time. And same movement here for corners, but pressing inside the box will move everything except for the little plus in the middle. And instead we need to press inside the feature region for that one. And that little plus is named attach point, which is the center point that you want to connect or hook the object or feature to when you're doing the track motion. To track this footage, it's quite a good idea to find as a high contrasting areas as possible to be able to attach the tracking point a bit better. And if this is not possible, it normally might be quite a good idea to prepare the footage a little bit better before you start doing the motion tracking. For example, by increasing the contrast of the footage in specifically these certain areas that you are working within or that you want to do the tracking for. And you also want to try to find an attachment point or somewhere in the footage that every type of movement in any type of direction will be unique. So no matter if you're moving up or down or to the left or to your right, there will always be a little bit of uniqueness, and that makes it a little bit easier to do the tracking. Adjusting the tracking point to a potential good fit. I will be creating a basic track motion using only one tracking point here, and with just the position and the track type transform. So once everything is set up and you're ready, just hit the play button over here to start analyzing forward. If potentially needed, there's an option to analyze forward just one frame at a time to the right, and on the left side either analyze backwards automatically or one frame at a time here as well. You need to keep an eye out for the tracking point staying in place, and if it's not, it's necessary to go back again in the footage or the timeline, kind of adjusting the tracking point as needed before you start analyzing again. And whenever the footage is completely analyzed, we just created a bunch of keyframes that follow this specific movement. And by going into the alternatives for the footage, the option called motion trackers just been added now, where the path of the keyframes for the tracking point can be seen, while having the X and Y position now for the future center for each frame. The future or the inner box size shown in pixels. If the outer box, the search, is offset and by how much if so. Plus we get the size of it just underneath. Confidence is related to how well After Effects think it's actually doing or tracking the actual footage. So anytime the confidence is very high, it's a positive indicator that it's actually analyzing the tracking very well. And if the confidence is low, vice versa is done. A little bit dependent on each type of footage, so it might be a good idea to always do the tracking first and then go back to analyze the confidence level and potentially find some problematic frames that you might need to analyze again, then you would just raise the confidence level just a little bit on those problematic frames to get a bit better motion tracking overall. To be able to adjust this for the tracking, just head over to Options in the Tracker panel and choose one of the 4 options in the drop-down menu as an action After Effects should take each time the confidence is below your specified or given number. The Continue Tracking is the default one, and the tracking won't care about the confidence level at this one. Stop tracking to abort, then reevaluate manually before starting again, while the Extrapolate motion estimate the future region's position. It won't create any new attachment points keyframes to anytime the confidence level is being too low. At the same time, it will also be deleting them for all prior tracks where the confidence level goes below the actual minimum there as well. Kind of like making educated guesses based on different type of patterns. Lastly, the option called Adapt Future track as normal until or if the minimum confidence level is challenged or has dropped below. Using the last frame or feature and ignoring all the problematic or bad ones, those with a bit lower confidence level, and instead use the prior ones that was a lot better and with a higher confidence level, and ignoring those problematic ones. A little bit similar to what's just mentioned, this process can also be done separately by taking the adapt feature on every frame, accounting or taking note of the future just one frame behind the current one, instead of going all the way back to the first frame in the very beginning. So it will kind of move along all the time, just one frame behind, and take account of this one. We then got Subpixel Positioning, and whenever this one is ticked on or marked, the tracking will be a lot more accurate, as it's not just based on pixels now, it's based on fractions of pixels, or very small parts of pixels. We may enable track fields if using an interlaced video. Interlaced, meaning a type of video that is split into 2 halves, and it's only showing every other of these lines to create a full frame, doubling the frame rate when doing this. Next we got Enhance Before Match. Make it a little bit easier to track an image or footage by either blurring it or sharpening it. For example, removing a bit of those grainy, noisy parts of an image or footage. We can change channel depending on the feature or object we're tracking, as if it's having a clear coloring, we can use the RGB, and with a different type of brightness, we can choose the luminance. I'm referring to the brightness or the light intensity of an image or a footage, meaning how bright or dark certain type of areas are, without considering the actual coloring. While if there's similar coloring in the object and its surrounding, as less contrast, you can try the saturation instead, meaning the intensity or the vividness of coloring in a footage, as in how pure or how diluted the coloring will appear in the footage. We got the Tracker plugin with built-in as the standard and only one in After Effects, and we can then also change track name in the very top. Heading back to our drop-down timeline options, just a Y and X position here for the attach point and also an offset for it. In here it's possible to add a bit more track points or trackers, either before or after tracking, by just duplicating them. Now when we're actually having the tracking data ready, we perhaps preferably want to attach or apply this to something. Thus I will create a null object, name it tracking null. Go to edit target, choose the null tracking, OK, apply an X and Y dimensions for this one. Now the tracking data is attached to the null, and we're able to line up any type of text or footage to this motion. I will adjust the text layer a little bit, and then just drag and snap it to the anchor point of the null, while placing the logo over here to kind of follow the same movement. Lastly, just mark both layers and pick whip to parent them to the null object. And yeah, there we go. We just got ourselves a little nice tracked motion in the footage here. This was the most type of basic tracking that you can do, but you can also try to perhaps throw in a little bit of rotation and scaling, giving you one of those extra track points to place at another part of the footage. You might want to try to place them on different sides of the actual feature or object that you're trying to track, or with the same depth in the scene related to the camera. In general, the further distance they have, the better the results will be. Then there's a few different types of track types, with the transform one being the default, that was the one previously used, and a little bit similar to the warp stabilize. So we may use the track motion to stabilize an image, but will instead steady or stabilize just a specific object within the footage. Something perhaps quite obvious if I were to do another tracking with the stabilizer and apply the tracking to a layer. Seeing now that our object or talent still in the frame while the rest is moving around a bit. But without the actual compensation of the scaling, distortion and the warping, although still a rotation and scaling can be included to experiment with if you like. I will be using the following video clip here with a green screen for the upcoming parallel and perspective corner pin. And this function is a little bit similar, as both have the 4 corner pins for tracking corners of an object, just like a screen, and both tracks skew and rotation, but only the latest mentioned track the perspective as well. There might be an argument to go for the parallel corner pin tracking here at times, using the parallel basic 2D, but I just haven't found the reason yet for this one, either in quality or in less time. So the perspective corner pin should probably most often be your first choice here. And whenever a scene or an object is too complex to track, then the Mocha AE should be your best friend here. Anyway, with the corner pin tracing, using the perspective on a screen in this case, but it also works really well on any type of flat areas or flat surfaces that you want to attach something on. Again, this will need a good contrast to work well, so place them out. Once that's done, just hit play to analyze. And with our image, video clip or whatever we want to replace the tracked box with, instead of first creating a null, just choose the footage directly on edit target. And finally apply. I will be using the previous clip we just worked on to apply it to the track scene. Adjust the scaling a bit if necessary to fit the whole area. And there you go, a full basic screen replacement with the track motion corner pin. Finally here, the raw, let us track and collect any type of tracking data to be able to use it on different type of properties, by for example copying and pasting the keyframes from the tracking data to another property to replicate that movement. However, though, it can't be used to a specific target within the actual tracker, only with data separately.